A very good evening to you and welcome to RTV News with me, Fiona Mbabazi. Now, with the 21st Ordinary Meeting of the Summit of the East African Community Heads of State to take place on Saturday, experts believe the community needs to up its game if the objective of its people that they hope for are to be achieved. Serge Nori kicks off tonight's edition with that story.
It has now been more than 2 decades since the founding of the East African Community, but the objectives that led to its creation are yet to be attained.
If you look at the Common Market Protocol that was adopted in 2010, which contains provisions where they committed to consecrate the free movement of goods, the free movement of services, the free movement of capital, and the free movement of people. At this time, if you consider the timeline that the East African community leaders had given to themselves, at this time we would be moving freely. Goods could be moving freely from Kenya to any partner state. But when you look at it today, the assessment that you do is very, very sad today. Politically, economically, it is like a scattered patchwork of states trying to implement their own policies and to push their own agendas without considering the regional framework.
Indeed, companies in the region say trade barriers have persisted unnecessarily in the EAC. What we call non-tariff barriers are things done when they are not necessary, and yet they increase the cost of doing business, hindering it and driving up market prices. Take weighing stations, for example. If there are 8 between Dar es Salaam and Kigali and all trucks must pass through them, the time alone and other requirements, including the costs of running them, end up driving up the market prices of commodities. Experts are warning that doing nothing about such things and other regional matters is playing a dangerous game.
One of the purposes of the EAC is to make it a people-centered organization. We, the people, we are supposed to be at the heart of the integration, which means that we have that power to push for that political agenda. But the thing is that so far we are still very passive as the people. When you look at the situation that happened between Rwanda and Burundi when the borders were closed, we never heard any MP taking this issue at any level, saying that this was the violation of the EAC treaty that consecrates the free movement of goods from one partner state to another. When the Ugandan High Court decided that Ugandan lawyers who are trained in Rwanda cannot practice as lawyers before Ugandan courts, people did not react.
The COVID-19 pandemic has only made doing business in the EAC harder, with the East African Business Council announcing that cross-border trade in the region is suffering significantly because of a lack of proper coordination between states on how to fight the spread of the virus. An example would be how the cost of transporting goods along the northern corridor doubled between January and September last year.
I will give you an example. If, for example, let's say testing COVID is different from one partner state to another. For example, let's say one partner state is charging $50, another partner state is charging $100, another one is charging $10. So you find the cost, this is a direct impact to businesses, and therefore cost of doing business will be different from different partner states. And for this coordination, it will require now a strengthened and a stronger EAC secretariat that would possibly support the partner states and support the directives of the Council of Ministers and that one of heads of states.
The East African Business Council is urging the EAC's leaders to act quickly to deal with the trade problems the community has continued to grapple with, and also look to expand rapidly, what with the Democratic Republic of Congo asking to join the community.
Now, once DRC comes in on board to be part of the EAC, it means now we'll be claiming this larger market that is being taken advantage of by others from outside East Africa. So I think it is timely now we make it part of our family and see how together we can forge ahead, and together how there can be win-win in terms of opportunities that exist into that Congo. Congo, we are talking of about 80 million people as a market.
A study conducted last year by the EABC and the German development agency GIZ found that the DRC joining the EAC would be very beneficial for both sides, with that country having imported goods worth $6.6 billion in 2019. Yet EAC exports to that country the year prior amounted to just $855.4 million. That's 11.5% of the DRC's imports. Yet countries like China supply as much as 31.2%. The 21st ordinary meeting of the summit of the EAC heads of state on Saturday will look at a number of issues, including the requests by the DRC and Somalia to join the bloc, a report on political integration, as well as another on recognizing French as one of the community's official languages. There is also the appointment of a new Secretary General for the EAC and judges in the East African Court of Justice.
Now, Paul Rusesabagina has again raised an objection pertaining to the continuation of his trial after the High Court Chamber for the International and Cross-Border Crimes announced that, contrary to his claims, it does not have the jurisdiction to try him. Now, his latest objection is apparently linked to the court's announcement about its power to try his case.
The decision of the court in Nyanza to proceed with the trial against Paul Rusesabagina and 20 other co-accused stems from the fact that it does have the jurisdiction to try terrorism-related charges that in most cases are cross-border in nature, and it does have the power to trial any individual in this capacity, whether they be Rwandan or not. The defense team in the proceedings immediately announced that it is going to appeal the court's decision and also present a new objection related to it, sparking heated debate in the courtroom when questions were asked about what this new objection is, and the defendant's lawyers said they need time to prepare their complaint after consultations. Prosecutors then asked that 3 requests made prior by the defense team be used as evidence, seeing that Paul Rusesabagina's own lawyers have confirmed that they should not be considered as more objections. The 3 submissions made digitally are that Paul Rusesabagina's identification details be corrected, his rights be considered, including the freedom for him to select his own defense team, and another to do with how he ended up in Rwanda. The defense team has been given until Tuesday next week to properly prepare their latest objection and explain why they believe the trial should not proceed. And it was also decided by the judges that objections raised by 2 other defendants in the group, Felicien Sanzubuchire and Anastase Munyaneza, both former generals in the group that calls itself the CNRD, before they were captured and extradited back to Rwanda in 2017 as per a UN Security Council resolution. The 2 say they should be granted bail on grounds that they cooperated fully in the investigation that took place after their arrest, an investigation that has since ended, plus one of the duo is sick. Prosecutors countered the request by pointing out that the seriousness of the charges against the man alone is reason enough not to grant bail, and the group they once fought for still exists, meaning they may very well try to rejoin it the first chance they get. The court decided that their bail request will be examined and a decision announced on Wednesday next week, 2 days before Paul Rusesabagina's latest objection is deliberated on. All 21 defendants are on trial because of their involvement with the FLN group formed by the MRCD coalition that was led by Paul Rusesabagina. The leaders in the group are accused of terrorism-related charges that include forming an illegal armed group, forming a terrorist group, and supporting terrorist activities, while the former fighters are facing charges to do with joining an illegally armed group, a terrorist group, and others are accused of other terrorism-related activities that include theft and murder.
Now, the Rwanda Biomedical Center is warning all people to take the COVID-19 preventive measures seriously, saying even after the virus is no longer present in a person's body and they have recovered from the illness, the physical complications that may arise afterwards because of it are just as serious. Jen Mutoni with the details.
At the Nyarugenge COVID-19 Treatment Center in Kigali, specialized doctors and nurses are taking care of each patient in critical units separately. On one hand, some of the patients who had healed from the virus are still in critical conditions due to its effects such as respiratory complications, lung failures, high blood pressure, and others. They are currently on critical care ventilators. Some of these patients say even though they no longer take COVID-19 treatments, they are currently struggling with other diseases that were as a result of the virus. They are warning people to take COVID-19 preventive measures seriously.
Narayikize ariko numva
I had totally healed from the virus along with the pains. Apart from the respiratory complications, I was off the medications. I would advise all people to take COVID-19 seriously because it's real and it's growing stronger. There are side effects, although there may not be many, but they are present. Despite the fact that one has eventually been tested negative. For example, I'm having respiratory problems, which could improve with the change of location. Otherwise, COVID-19 is real and people need to take it seriously. Many cases have been reported of patients that had healed from the virus and shortly after they passed away from other diseases. The head of the Nyarugenge COVID-19 Treatment Center and also in charge of treating patients in the critical unit, Dr. Uwimana Françoise Xavier, says that people who delay themselves to receive treatment for COVID-19 virus risk suffering from respiratory diseases afterwards. Lungs are vital to the human body, hence when they are damaged, the normal air we breathe is no longer able to circulate the rest of the organs, and in some cases, even the oxygen we provide to the patients fails to circulate in the blood. Sometimes it depends with the patient's timing for them to heal. Some patients will fail to breathe from our machines because their lungs are extremely damaged, hence very few are able to survive. Officials at the Rwanda Biomedical Center say the effects of COVID-19 after healing are in three parts: physical effects on the body, lung failure, which usually result to death due to patients receiving treatment late, and psychological effects, which could include the brain aging by as much as 10 years. Some patients stay on oxygen supply for a long time, even after healing from the virus. These patients stay at the hospital for further treatments, and some others with extensively damaged lungs eventually pass away. There are also psychological effects, whereby in the research we carried out in Nyarugenge, Kirehe and Rusizi district, 60% of the patients had side effects of depression, insomnia and constant fatigue. We have related these side effects with the research that was carried out in foreign countries, which showed that after healing COVID-19 virus, one's brain can age by as much as 10 years. RBC says research is being carried out in order to find out the total number of people across the country that have healed from COVID-19 but experienced other side effects. The aim is to provide special treatment for those types of patients. Jane Mutoni, reporting for RTV.
And of course, it is everyone's role to play it right, especially when it comes to COVID-19, to protect themselves and those around them. Now, a cross-section of residents living along the Ngoma-Bugesera-Nyanza road that is under construction say that this will lead to bigger developments in their area. Now, according to the Rwanda Transport Development Agency, this road will ease trade in the country and across the region. Ngoma-Bugesera road construction is in full swing. It is a two-lane road. The first part of Ngoma-Ramiro has not yet been completed, and the second part is that of Kibugabuga, Gasoro, Nyanza, which has started its work and is in the middle towards its finish.
It was much harder before because of the dirt and dusty roads, but once it's complete, I believe that it will make it easier for transportation. As we do business, this road is a solution because once we fill this center, it will also bring more people and bring money.
On the other hand, some residents say that during the construction of the road, the property was destroyed and that they have been waiting for compensation. We are happy about this road and we are still waiting to be compensated for destroyed property, and it's already been 3 months.
They said I would get about 700,000 Rwandan francs. They then came back a second time and we signed some papers. The third time they came, but reduced the slated amount. We are still waiting on them.
The road will be connected to Kigali-Rusumo Road in the Eastern Province and Kigali-Huye Road in Nyanza District in the Southern Province. Emile Baganizi, the Deputy Director General of the Rwanda Transport Development Agency (RTDA), says it will facilitate both domestic and cross-border trade. He said that those who have not yet been compensated for their property were the ones whose documents had issues.
This is a road that links other major roads. Otherwise, the road from Rusumo to Rusizi would first pass through Kigali. But now it will pass through Ngoma and cross Bugesera to Nyanza. Those who have not been paid are the ones whose documents have issues, but we will work with the district.
The Ngoma-Ramiro section, which is 52 kilometers long, has not yet started work. The Kibugabuga-Gasoro section, which is 66.5 kilometers long, has reached 50% completion, costing about 33 billion Rwandan francs. According to RTDA, 1,632 kilometers of roads are planned to be constructed in the year 2020-2021 budget, and 1,518 have been constructed so far, but as a result of COVID-19, some of the work has been delayed. Residents of Mushi Rocks in Kamonyi district say they are content with the progress seen in the development of the recreational activities project. Now, the Southern Province Administrative says that all parts of the province will be developed to help boost the economy. Gabi Muvunyi with the details.
Harnesses, ropes and helmets are the tools that are used to take part in this rock climbing activity. It is an adrenaline-filled kind of activity. Rock climbing is a physically and mentally demanding sport, one that often tests a climber's strength, endurance, agility and balance, along with mental control. Sandrine Umnizergwa owns a company called Beautiful Rwanda Tours, which also manages the boulders in Pushi. The most you can get are small cuts by sticks that may scratch you as you climb. But you cannot die or get any major injuries from this. It takes courage, self-confidence and trust in your partner, especially when climbing or coming down. Climbers need to communicate in order to keep each other's balance at all times. Climbers will usually work in pairs and utilize a system of ropes and anchors designed to catch falls. Olivier Maurice Mutuimana is one of the climbers we spoke to. He explains what it takes to face such activities.
The first thing I tell myself is to be courageous. Once you have this in mind, you can overcome any challenge in front of you. Always encourage yourself to do things that you're not used to doing. With that mindset, you will overcome a lot.
It has now been 2 years since anything has taken place here. Now an ambitious entrepreneur has stepped in and ready to make this sport a tourist attraction in Rwanda. We do not want to modify a lot because we want to keep its natural beauty. We want to add a sitting and rest area because for now people are just sitting on the rocks. But we will make it look as natural as possible. We also want to add a place where people can sit and eat when they come. The residents of Pushi say they're earning some money from the project through interacting with visitors.
We provide security for their cars and help them with a few things here and there. Sometimes we can get 5,000, even 10,000 francs. They gave me this phone so we could communicate when they plan on coming here. I help them with the harness and the ropes, and I get some little money.
The 8 districts in the southern province have been shown areas that should be developed for historical and scenic tourism. Alice Kaitesi, the mayor of the province, says there's a need for more developers to add more recreational sports and activities that will help boost the economy. The study shows there are many sites throughout the province that can be developed and attract many tourists. We hope others will start operating like this one has. We need to put in effect a few things like basic services. We are currently doing that with the heads of districts so that when tourists visit, they can have something to use. Locals are encouraged to participate in such activities in order to see the benefits that come from them and to protect Mpushi boulders by pointing out individuals who may try to use them as sources for construction materials. Gabi Muvunyi for RTV.
Well, thanks, Gabi, for that story. Now, the Water and Sanitation Corporation, WASAC, say they shall begin constructing the Kigali Central Sewage System by next year.
As the infrastructure in Kigali continues to evolve in the eyes of the citizens and foreigners, while statistics show that Kigali is an exemplary city when it comes to sanitation and environmental conservation, on one hand, citizens in Kigali are complaining about the lack of a central sewage system, as any modern city master plan requires. This kind of system was normally being used by commercial buildings, but it was proven not to be enough. We normally dig holes that will be used for disposing dirty water, which we call septic tanks. Experts say digging such holes in every compound in the city could have dire consequences. The CEO of WASAC, Muhumuza Giselle, says a project is being put in place to solve this issue. We have approached the deadline for tenders as we are planning to establish projects in the next fiscal year. We shall discuss with the one who wins the tender on updating the feasibility study to take into account the new buildings and widened roads. Afterwards, construction activities will begin right away. According to the WASAC officials, the tender process was delayed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. WASAC says the national budget for the central sewage system is available. They also request those that are currently constructing homes to include sewage systems. They say the project of constructing Kigali's sewage system is already in place, and other projects to recycle Kigali's waste also exist. According to the statistics, the total population in Kigali is 1.6 million, with over 410,000 homes. Jane Mutoni reporting for RTV.